Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulih. Menteri Kami Fadil, saudara saya Syed Mokhtar Al-Bukhary dan Puan Sri Syed Mohamad dari gerak museum di sini dan juga dekat bersama. Yang terutama dan hadirin yang dimuliakan, saya ambil kesempatan ini untuk menyatakan penghargaan sedikit kepada saudara Syed Mokhtar dan rekan-rekan yang dapat menyediakan satu pameran hari ini dan museum Islam di daerah yang terkemuka dengan tahun ini, walaupun kita ada museum di Timur Tengah, di London dan di New York, tapi di rantau ini museum ini adalah museum yang terbuka, yang tegak selama berdekat-dekat, dan yang telah menjadi pusat pendidikan, pendedahan tentang seni Islam yang dipamerkan begitu lama. Saya ingin kata juga untuk menganjurkan agar masyarakat Malaysia, Muslim dan juga bukan Islam, mengambil kesempatan ini, kerana yang dipamerkan ini adalah karya antarabangsa yang terkenal, dan terutama di kalangan pelajar dan mahasiswa. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, of course it gives us great pleasure to be associated with any exhibition with such illustrious displays, and it is a privilege for the country, for the society here, to be able to be exposed to this, not necessarily having to fly to London, to museum, to see the Bukhari art gallery, Islamic gallery there. So you can see the immense work being placed here. I came some years back, one evening, having a private dinner and looking at this place. And incidentally, saw this artwork and painting of Tipu Sultan, which you would know, but Syed Mokhtar didn't. So he was surprised that when I mentioned Tipu Sultan, the history and his contribution, both in terms of governance and also technology and defense in India, in particular I think in Mysore, if I'm not mistaken. So you have done a great contribution. This is a function that can only be performed by those with passion, and you have passion. And a country, particularly the Madani understanding, is not only to empower people in terms of the economy, not only economic empowerment, which is fundamental. But I've always said from the days of Asian Renaissance to Madani, it also required cultural empowerment, the literature, the arts, and it would be unfortunate for a country Malaysia with strong Islamic roots, with diverse cultures, the Chinese, the Indians, the indigenous tribes, are not able to excel either in arts, on culture, in performing arts, because we are either too preoccupied with economic issues or too obsessed with the changes and the displays from the West. So what we have done, Syed Mokhtar, other than the billions of projects, and I've been tough with him, although he's very kind. He made only good reference to his abang doing help, but then I was extremely tough with him when it comes to Bernas. Some of you are quite familiar. When I just called him one day, this is about paddy planters, where he has a major contract with the government and privatization, and I'm very concerned or disturbed, not necessarily because of Bernas, but because of the state of affairs. Poverty among the paddy planters is sometimes considered as a poverty crop. It's also a security crop, and incidentally, it's also a poverty crop. So I just called one day, just days after I took over office, I called him and said, Syed, your abang would suggest that I didn't ask the company, and you must have surprised his son. But I said, do something. I said, substantial, so that I can just show that we, the Madani government, means well, serious to help the poor. So he said, okay, it was November. He said, December, 10 million ringgit. And in 2023, 50 million ringgit to be distributed among the poor paddy farmers. So there's also the passion is not only the arts, the passion is also about the poor. He wouldn't have done, because I don't think it's the authority of any government or leader to instruct companies who say, no, donate 60 million. I did it because he's my brother. I did it because I know his passion. I know he's not a public speaker, because he spends his time making money. And on the contrary, I do good public speaking, but as I would know, we have some difficulty in certain areas. So thank you, for your passion and immense contribution to this country in many fields. And lately, because I was there for the Proton Geely launch, and with that capability, you can then venture to cultivate and support the arts. And some of you aware that my passion, I wouldn't be as profound, my understanding of the arts, including Oriental arts, as Syed Mohamad, his expertise, but I do follow closely Islamic art, Islamic culture, and of course, Oriental studies and Oriental art. So, we must commend the Al-Bukhary Foundation, and particularly because of this. It is now 25th anniversary at the end of this year. And we would, of course, suggest and appeal to more successful conglomerates to do likewise. You have seen the theatres and museum in the West. It's not only through governmental efforts, but through the commitment, to an extent, passion of some of the big conglomerates who feel that some of the profit should be utilized to support the arts. One of the great German Orientalists, Annemarie Schimmel, whom I invited once to visit Malaysia and participated in the conference on Islam and Confucianism. I want Muslims in Malaysia to appreciate and learn more about Confucianism. And I want the Chinese, particularly the Confucians, to also understand and appreciate Islam in the true spirit of the Ta'ara. And she said, among other things, Harvard scholar, and a Mary Shimon. Behind all created beauty, the mystic sees a witness to the souls of eternal beauty. The ruby is the heart of the stone, which has been transformed into a priceless jewel through patience and shedding its blood. This hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Muslims are the mirrors of each other. So the theme of mirage, is therefore undoubtedly powerful, mystical, and philosophical. It conjoins, during my days of solitary confinement, some of you are familiar with the fact that I have to read and reread the entire collected works of Shakespeare with copious notes. Hamlet, for example, among works that kept me company, reminding me that the purpose of play acting is to hold, as it were, the mirror up to nature, to show virtue her feature, scorn her old image, and the very age and body of the time, his form and pressure. Now that said, we come back to how the West saw the Orient. I was told, I'm yet to see, by the side of that some of the works are not necessarily antagonistic, which gives a very strong message. In the clustered work of Edward Said, the great Palestinian scholar, Orientalism, differentiate how the West, the colonial masters, including academics, view the other. Islamic or Arab civilization, Indian or Hindu, or Chinese or Buddhist or Confucian civilization as the other. A very condescending view of the other. That is a general statement. What we need to see today, of course, there are exceptions. There are colonial scholars who would see from a different angle, a humanitarian outlook and purpose, and to see from the perception of the other and not an arrogant, condescending view like most colonial masters. We have the experience here, for example, works of suasana, Malay sketches, or Hugh Clifford, the former resident of Pahang, on brown humanity, very condescending, very insulting, very demeaning. But again, as I said, though, as correctly pointed out by Edward Said, this seems to be the trend, but there are exceptions. I think Syed Mohamad attempted to show in that new spirit of collaboration and understanding that there are exceptions. This is why I maintain the issue is again the human soul in humanity. And it's always dangerous in a multiracial society like Malaysia to generalize and to have stereotypes. And but still, the essence, I'm not simplifying or understating the fact that the colonial mind, the colonoscibility as expounded by Malik bin Nabi, the Algerian philosopher thinker, the colonoscopy is because it's not only the colonial mind, but those colonized would think, reflect, and view as the colonial masters. This is the classic Ibn Khaldun's theory that sometimes smaller countries, small societies become too subdued to the more powerful civilization. So, historian Kamal Aydin, in the idea of the Muslim world, depicted the colossal damage of colonialism. Because at that time, half the world's Muslims were being colonized. But we are now independent, hopefully also no longer a captive mind, as one of the great sociologists, Hussein Alatas, referred to. Colonial captive mind is like colonoscibility. Captive mind is essentially means that you are Malay, you are Chinese, or an Indian, or an African, but you are captive to the type, stereotype thinking of your ex-colonial masters. Thus we have seen Huntington's clash of civilizations. And regretfully, this sort of condescending, arrogant outlook is accepted by some in the East. We take a different view. We respect and accept influences from the East and the West. We don't see everything that is Western is as necessarily imperialistic. There have been immense contribution to humanity, but we remain fiercely independent to be able to be selective in what we do, adopt, and accept. So, let me conclude after this short pre-answer lecture to thank you and to assure you, Syed, that this work is phenomenal, because this is one rare display in this country, and I should say in this region. And this is important because empowering Malaysians and society is through understanding, through not only tolerance. I prefer the term appreciating and knowing one another, which is the Quranic term, lita'arafu. The tolerance means you tolerate the differences. The Islamic term connotes understanding and appreciating. And this place like this is an exceptional way to get people to really appreciate and understanding. For those lovers of art, you realize that you cannot go and see this play in 10 minutes, open the museum and leave. You have to spend more time. So since I'm going to spend a bit more time, I hope you have proper tea served. She's not too sure. You have, okay. Marsalati, you see? You don't have teh-tarik, you have marsalati. That means how we ta'arafu in tea, application of tea days. So thank you very much. Jadi sekali lagi saya ucapkan terima kasih. Saya ingin menyeru rakan-rakan pendidik, peniaga, ibu bapa, dan juga anak-anak mahasiswa dan pelajar manfaatkan waktu dan gunakan peluang ini, kerana orang biasa akan membayar ratusan ringgit atau ribuan ringgit untuk menyaksikan karya-karya besar yang tidak boleh diperolehi di jalanan. Dia diperolehi dari suatu biji sama begini, auction house, dengan harga yang mahal. Jadi kalau sudah faham nilainya dan makna dari segi pendidikan, pendedahan dan ilmu, sudah tidak akan sia-siakan. Sekarang ini mesti cuti sekolah. Jadi saya harap ibu bapa manfaatkan waktu beberapa jam untuk melihat, renung, memahami dan faham apa dia karya indah seni. Seni lukisan atau puisi itu pencernaan dari hati nurani yang dilakar dengan bahasa ataupun lakaran yang indah, yang tidak mampu dilakukan oleh orang biasa. Hanya beberapa orang dalam jutaan manusia yang boleh melakar dalam bahasa yang indah atau dalam lukisan yang cantik. Kalau ibarat lagu Piramli, tiada kata seindah bahasa, tiada gambar seindah lukisan. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum.